Hi, I'm Tom Stevenson and welcome to Microsoft Project, the course. This is video number 6 in the course and we're going to be continuing on with resources. In the description down below, you'll see a Google Drive link to a start point file. If you want to, you can follow along. You can download that file and follow along. You can go right back to video number 1. I'll include links to the various videos below. Please click subscribe, check my playlist for many different videos on construction management and Microsoft Project. Alright, so let's begin. We have currently this file, which is our classroom remodel project, and we've done a whole bunch of different things here. We've got our activities, we've got our durations, we've got our predecessors all set up, we've got a complete network, and from the previous video, we learned how to create and apply resources. But let's go back a little bit and take a look at what we did there so that if you're new and you missed the previous video, you can at least get a good sense of what's going on. So we're going to slide to the left, right click, and slide down to the resource sheet. So basically you slide your mouse all the way to the left, right click your mouse, and then it'll pop up a list. This is one of the ways to get into this area of tables and sheets. And we're going to slide down to resource sheet. So we created this in the previous iteration. And so we've got like project manager, site super, project coordinator. So we created a bunch of resources for this project, which is a classroom remodel project. We've got types here. Now if you click on this, you'll see that there's 3 types to choose from: work, material, and cost. We want work when we're going to follow something by an hourly rate. We want cost when we're going to contract the work to an independent contractor for a fixed fee. We want material when it's something we want to track either linear or area or volume. So it could be square feet, it could be square meters, it could be cubic meters, it could be square feet of carpet as an example, cubic meters of concrete, square foot of drywall, linear feet of piping. So we put 50 cents a square foot, and this is for drywall. All right, so we see here it says maximum units, and I put down 500%. That means I'm saying that we have 5 carpenters available for this project. 100% it means we got 1 project manager available, 1 site super, 1 project coordinator. Maybe we'll create another cell here and another resource. So let's maybe just call it carpenter apprentice. How's that? So we'll call it carpenter apprentice. And we will call that work. And we'll say that we've got 2 apprentices available. So we'll put 200%, and we'll give them an hourly rate. So we'll say $50 an hour, okay, for an apprentice just starting out. You notice over here, there is a crew. And you notice there's 3 things that we could choose from: start, prorated, and end. This I'll show you, which we didn't talk about in the previous video. This is how the money will be paid out. And if we're going to do like a cash flow report, it's very helpful if we display how that is going to be paid. So prorated would be like as soon as they're doing the work, they get paid on an ongoing basis. That's probably best to put that if you're paying hourly, prorated, because that's about pretty close to every 2 weeks. You know, that's going to be as close as you're going to get. The end is we're going to pay the drywall sub at the end of the activity that we apply the cost to. It doesn't mean that we wait till the end of the project to pay the drywall sub. It doesn't mean that we wait till their work is done, because they might have a series of work that takes place over weeks or months. It means at the end of that activity, if we assign a cost, the program will calculate they're getting paid at that point. So the difference is prorated, you're getting paid as you go. End is at the end of the activity that it is assigned to. Start would be exactly the opposite, the start of the activity that they're going to be starting. So something getting delivered at the beginning of the drywall, that means the vendor, whoever they are, they might want to be getting paid at that point. Now, it doesn't really calculate for things like, you know, you've got an account and it might take a month before you have to pay them, but best to put it the way that the money's going to be flowing out. So think of it as the start. Okay, so we've done that, and that's pretty good. Now we have calendars. There is 4 calendars listed here. We had created this way back when we did calendars. So I think that was video class number 2 or 3, or video number 2 or 3. You can always go back and check that. We created a plumbing subcontractor video. We could apply that to anybody, but typically you would want to apply it to the plumbing subcontractor. But we're not going to worry about that for now. We're going to keep this at the standard calendar, and that's the normal calendar that we're using. So this means that these trades, they're all following. If I go up to Project tab, change working time, the calendars here, it means that they are all going to be following the standard calendar. And so these are all the holidays that we put in for that time period, right? So all these holidays are in play for that time period. And so you can always scroll and you can see the various holidays. We even put in some that they're going to work some Saturdays, etc., under the standard calendar when we were creating that. All right, so I'll close that so we know what the calendars are about. You can't assign a calendar if you put it as a cost. The program doesn't let you do that. So kind of would have been nice, I think, if they did, but for some reason they didn't. All right, so I'm going to slide across to the left and I'm going to go to the Gantt chart here. We created this carpenter apprentice, and you know what, we're creating this. We have not yet set a baseline. That's going to be coming up very shortly in future videos, how you update the schedule and how you recover the schedule. But first, we're still going to be applying some of the things we've been learning. And again, I just urge you that if you're following along, it's really good if you've downloaded that file and you follow along, because then you really get it. The more you click the keys yourself, the more that you'll actually understand what's going on. I'm a professor of construction management, and this is what I do with the students. Lots of times try to demonstrate, have them follow along, and then let them try something on their own. Maybe your own project that you're interested in doing, then you can try similar things on that. Okay, so I've got here install ceiling tile, and I'm realizing, you know, I've forgotten a few things. All right, that happens. So I'm going to maybe click on 3 rows. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go insert task, and inserts 3 rows right above my closeout in my summary tasks here. Okay, so I'm going to click that, and I'm going to, over here, I'm going to put in, let's see, install. So we're going to say install door frames and hardware. I'm going to put, we're going to install trim, and we're going to paint. Okay, so we've forgotten a few things, so we're adding those in. And maybe to shorten this up, I'm just going to say, we're always looking to have shortcuts for the activity names. Don't want to make them, because the wider they are or they double down, it's a little bit strange sometimes. So I'm going to give this a duration here. So I'm going to say 5 days, and I'm going to say installing trim 6 days. We'll say painting, we'll give it 2 weeks. Okay, so we put that in there, and now we're going to apply some resources just to go over that part of it again for you. So I'm going to go up to the resource tab, click on resource, assign resources, and I'm going to click on carpenters, and I'm going to assign 2 carpenters to this, right? So I'm just going to click assign. So it's taking 2 carpenters, 5 days, and that's going to be $5,600. Now I think, if I remember, the carpenters were paid $70 an hour. So I've got my phone calculator here. So they were paid $70 an hour. They're working 8 hours a day times 8. All right. So that's $560. And we've got, let me do that again. Let's just try that again. So we've got install door frames and carpenters. So we got 5 days times 8 hours. Better to do it that way. Equals 40 hours, right? And then we've got 2 carpenters. So that's going to be times 2. So that's going to be 80 hours. And then that's going to be times $70 an hour. And so that is where the $5,600 comes from, right? So it's coming from them working 5 days times 8 hours, 40 hours times 2, 80 hours times $70 an hour. $70 coming from the resource sheet where we entered that information. It's always good to have an idea what it should be in case something doesn't seem like it's right when you're entering it, because maybe you put it on the wrong activity, maybe you're looking at something wrong. So you got to be careful of that. All right, install trim. So install trim, I am going to put the 2 carpenters, right? Actually, I'm going to put 1. And then I'm going to put 1 carpenter apprentice. And we've got that there. Okay, so we got install trim. We've got 2 carpenters and 1 carpenter apprentice. Now paint, we didn't create a painting sub, so we should do that, right? So we should do that. So I'm going to slide back to the left, and I'm going to go to the resource sheet, and I'm going to put painting sub. And I'm going to make them a cost. And so I've got cost for them. So I got that there, cost. That's fine. We'll leave that. I'm going to slide to the left, and I'm going to go Gantt chart. Okay, so I've got Gantt chart there. And we've got the painting sub now. So let's go down here, paint. Go down to the painting sub, right? There they are. And now we've got to put a cost in for them. So we're going to assign them, but because they're costs, we have to say how much are we paying them at the end of the 10 days. If that's when we plan to pay them at the end of that 10 days, then how much are we paying them? So let's say it's $12,000, and we'll click assign. And so they're getting paid then. Now, I've just created those resources and I created those activities. So I haven't done anything with them. They all show up on the first day. So I need to connect them up. You always have to remember that. If you add something like I did, it's just going to show up on the first day. But that doesn't make any sense. You know, we're just applying for the permit and we've got the painters on the first day. So I'm going to go to the task tab and I'm going to click the link icon. And now they're linked there. And now I got to decide, well, what do they link to? And I'm going to say that we're going to start the painting once the install ceiling tiles are finished. So I'm going to put number 23 as the predecessor. So 23, which is install ceiling tiles, the predecessors. That should move that out to that area over there. I'm going to close this box for now. I don't need it. It's one of those boxes you can work in it or out of it. Not too many times that happens, but the assign resources box, you can do that. Okay, so now the easiest thing to go find is just go from the task tab, scroll to tab, and it brings it up on your screen, right? So this doesn't make sense either. You know, this is showing this is the critical path and this is the longest path, and it's forgot about all this stuff, and we can't do a lot of this stuff until this is done. So I am going to I'm going to change this link from 23. I'm going to change it to 26 because that makes more sense in this case. All right, and now that's following the critical path through there. So I can see that I've got substantial completion. Always good to mark where substantial completion, where you can use the project for its intended purpose. Punch list, commissioning. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, truthfully, we could have commissioning start. You know, if we've wanted to, we could say we want commissioning to start after the substantial completion. And we could say the same thing for the punch list, right? So the punch list is saying 28, so that's good. So we're going to say this 28. Get rid of that slash sign there. And then we're going to put this. Also, we have to have them both flow into here, right? So this we don't want. That's like an open end hanging out there. And this is showing like the project finishes here when it should connect to there. So I'm going to keep commissioning and punch list. So I'm going to go 29, comma, 30, and that connects those two up there. All right. So I'm noticing too on this. I'll just click save, keep it saved. I'm noticing too on this that, let's see here, if I go to slide over to the left, Oh no, we're good. I thought I saw for a minute there that there was an overallocation, but I don't see the overallocation anymore. Okay, so I was worried that we had an overallocation. That occurs when you've assigned more of something or something twice in the same time that you don't have enough of. So I could create an overallocation, I think, right here. Let's see, I've got carpenters. So let's do carpenter, carpenter, apprentice. Oh, carpenter, apprentice. Okay, so let's go to resource, assign resources here. We're just checking things out, right? And we've got carpenters, carpenter, apprentice. Now I want to say, like, if you changed your mind on something and you up this. So let's say I say change this to carpenters and I change it to like 200%, right? And I assign that. We've got the 200% there. Now, it's kept that at the same time because we have carpenters and carpenter apprentice. We've got several activities, so it's kept it at 6 days. I want to take a look now. If I go here and I change this, and I change this to 400%. Let's take a look what goes on here. So I got 400%. This is showing 5 days, right? So I'll just click out of this. Do you see how it changed that? 2.5 days? What do you think it's doing there? Think about that for a minute. What is it doing there? You notice it went from 5 to 2.5, but you notice I doubled the carpenters on it. I went from 2 carpenters, 200%, to 4 carpenters, 400%. So it thinks the program, which is not AI yet, it's not Chat GPT yet, the program is just doing a calculation, say, oh, you came back and you added more people, so therefore it should take less time. Or conversely, and by the way, look at the cost, it's $5,600. Conversely, I took people away, right? So now it should take twice as long. So it calculates based on how many people you add or how many people you take away. And if I go and I change this to 1 person, it doubled the time, right? 10 days. 10 days for 1 person, 5 days for 2, and maybe if I put like six people on it, I want to get an overallocation going. I'll show you. So I put 6. See the little red person show up? That's saying you have an overallocation here. So you've added more than there is available. So you got to watch when you do these things because it plays with your durations. And you've got to make sure this is what you want. If it's not what you want, you got to make it what it wants. It always keeps the cost, because we could go in and do a bunch of adjustments, but it keeps the cost the same based on what you've applied to it. So maybe I'll go back here. Actually, before I do that, I want to show you this overallocation part here. So it's 600%. So we've applied 6 carpenters here. If I slide to the left here, right click, go to the resource sheet. Got this box open. I'll move it out of the way for now. See carpenters? It's in red. Well, we only said we had 5, right? We only said we had 5, but we assigned 6. So the program's flagging for us to say, hey, you applied 6. That's more than you said you have. Is that okay? And you say, no, it's not okay. But you know what? I can pull another carpenter off another job. So I could get 1 more. That gets rid of it, right? That would mean that's okay if you can pull 1 away from it. If you can't, then it's going to show an overallocation. Then you should start thinking about, all right, I'm going to slide to the left, go back to my Gantt chart, right? And go down to here where I've applied that resource, carpenters. Okay, so I've got 600%. I should rethink this. I'm going to say 500% because that's not going to work 600. And that makes it 2 days, and that gets rid of the overallocation. So it depends what your circumstances are for what you need to do, but you can determine that based on your project when it occurs. Okay, so we've applied a whole lot of resources, but we should apply a few more maybe here. Maybe the punch list, we will put a carpenter onto the punch list. All right, so we're going to put that carpenter over there. Carpenter onto the punch list, assign. And the commissioning, okay, so the commissioning, we need who's doing that, right? Now that could be the client's third-party commissioning agent. So maybe we're not paying them, maybe they are. We could still put them as a resource. We could slide to the left, go to our resource sheet, and then we could say client commissioning agent. We could put it as a cost. We just won't assign a cost for them. All right, so we're just going to leave that there. But we want to have somebody that, you know, we've allocated this time, somebody we know who we've got a contact for this. So I'm just going to click here. I'm not going to put any cost. I'm just going to put them over there because we're not paying them. The client's paying them. Okay, so we've assigned a whole bunch of resources here, and we've got our project more or less built out. We've up here, we've assigned, if we pull this to the right, we can see here, we've assigned the PM to take care of these. We've assigned the site super and the PM to take care of these two. We've assigned the PM 50% and the site super to the whole project through here. So that's all taken care of. We have no resource over allocations that I can see, no red people. We have no constraints shown that we've picked dates from here, so that's good. We've talked about that in earlier videos. So I think that's not bad. So we've got a good handle on our resources. Let's see what our cost is with all these resources. So I'm going to click on the square icon box here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to cost. So we've applied $354,240 to this project. We would have taken out our overhead and our profit, and this is our direct budget for our direct costs on this project. So I'm going to slide to the left, and I'm going to go down, and I'm going to take a quick look at our resource usage. So I'll show you what that entails or what gives us. The resource usage will show which activities we haven't assigned directly, but I said indirectly we have by assigning them to the summary task. So as long as we're okay with all of those, then that's fine, but that's a good way to review that to make sure that that makes sense for us. We've got the PM, and so there we see what they're assigned to, and they're assigned to those summary tasks. The site super is assigned to those. So the site super is assigned 800 hours on this project. The PM's 440.8 hours on the project. We have the drywall sub is assigned to these activities. So if you want to see what activities people are assigned to, you can quickly look at the trades and see if that makes sense. That's where you can pick up on some mistakes. You know, if you assign the plumbing sub to the electrical sub by mistake, you would pick it up, just doing a quick review. Anybody we want to monitor by the hours, it'll tell you how many hours we have assigned to the task and how many hours we've assigned for the overall project, which is very nice. And we can see the square footage if I pulled that away, just like Excel. You know, if you're not able to see everything, just pull it to the side and you should be able to see everything. All right, and the square footage that we've assigned, we must have had this one prorated because it's showing it by the day, money that is being incurred for this. All right, so that particular one must have been prorated, and that's probably on the square footage. So we have all of these numbers here. Another neat little thing you can do in here, you can right click and you can say show me cost, and it'll show you cost and how the money is being paid out. So remember we prorated like the site super and the project coordinator. Well, we can see how the costs are being paid out by the day, right? Because they're prorated. One like install metal studs, it'll show on the day, the last day of that task, they're getting paid. Remember, it's not prorated, they're at the end. So it shows where that money is going out. So you can see that pretty clearly there. It makes it easier to follow and easier to see. So that's kind of cool, the resource usage, because you're applying all these costs. You can see that and review that way and monitor it. You can also go to task usage. It's kind of just reversing it. Then you're going to see the tasks and who's assigned, right? So who's assigned to the various tasks. So it's just flipping it around and basically what's the duration of the tasks, right? And you can see if something is work related, how many hours each work-related trade or management person is on those particular activities and tasks. So you can pick up on those particular elements. And that's why it's 1.6 hours. It's like this oddball number because we put the PM, if I remember correctly, 20% to the project. So 5 times 1.6, it's 8 hours, right? So that's where that's coming from. It's just adding these two together to show you the 9.6 hour allocation. So that's helpful from that. And again, you can right click in this one and you can do costs as well, right? So you can show costs in there as well. So depending on what you want to monitor, you can set that up that way. So that's all because you've applied resources, right? All of this is because you've applied resources. And we've got, so rough in HVAC, we got the drywall. Okay, so I'm going to slide to the left. I'm going to now go back to my Gantt chart. And I'll show you up here. You got similar stuff. It's shown a different way. It's square icon box, right click. You can see usage here. So it forms, there's the activity, and these are the hours associated with those activities that have been applied. So we can follow that. This gets a little bit more hyped up when we start updating and recovering the actual schedules, and we'll look at that a little bit more detail down the road when we get there. I'm just trying to orient you on resources and the type of information you can monitor on the projects, right? And so you can see this with the usage, and again it flips it around. You want to look at it from a work perspective, right? So we can see the pre-construction and work hours listed that way. So when we actually update, we'll see the baseline, the variance, the actual, and the remaining hours, and how we're tracking for that. Variance becomes pretty important when we talk about monitoring that, especially if we're tracking different trades or our own employees by the hour. All right, so I'm just going to go back here on the square icon box, right click, and I'm going to go to entry. And I'm going to go up to the View tab and show you that you could also filter. Now that you've applied resources, you can filter the resources. So you can pull this down and you can say, I just only want to see the drywall subcontractor. And you can pull this down. Where's the drywall sub? There they are. You can click OK. And now you see all of the work of the drywall subcontractor. You can see the various costs that you've applied to the activities that they're on, but you could have saw that over where we were in the other sheet too. But this is nice. You've got the start and finish duration. Maybe you're sitting down with your drywall sub to go through the dates with them and you just want to show them their stuff. Then this will quickly filter it for you. Or maybe you're looking at this and you're, wait a minute, something's not right here. It's missing a certain activity, and you can go back, oh, we didn't assign them to it. So this is very, very helpful that way. So again, if you do filter anything, I caution you, make sure that you remember you did, because then you're like, where did everything go? So you can say no filter, right? So you can always filter it and then say no filter. And if the headings are bothering you, as I've said in previous videos, you can go to format and you can just say, don't show me the headings. And it won't show you the headings. Show me the headings. So if you filtered it for a particular resource, you don't want the headings, just shut them off. Just remember you did, and then you can turn them back on. Now, one more thing that's important. So I did show you where the costs were for this, but it doesn't really show the sum of each resource. What have we applied to each resource? Because look, drywall, now I could filter them and add them all up, but it's nicer if I just go to the left, right click, go to the resource sheet. This has a bunch of views as well. This has a square icon box as well. If I right click here, look, there's a bunch of different views here. There's, work again. I can look at hours by resource. I can look at usage, right? Just showing work only, less detailed that way. I can go to cost. Now cost shows me the total, what each resource is costing on the project. So you remember the drywall sub? We put 4 or 5 costs onto different activities. Well, that's the total. And that total should match whatever your contract is with them. If it doesn't, then you know, okay, I messed something up. What did I mess up? And you can go back and check which one did I miss, or which one did I not allocate, or which one did I allocate wrong. So this is what this is doing. It's summing them up. Later on, if we're doing a resource loaded schedule and we're updating it and we're looking at costs, we would be able to see what is the baseline, what is the difference between what their current costs are and what the baseline cost was, and what's the variance. We'll see who's over budget, who's under budget. We can start figuring out what happened. It's very helpful data if we track it very carefully. So again, I know it's a lot going between the different screens and getting used to it, but we'll go through this stuff again in other videos a little bit as reviews as it comes up. But you just got to orient yourself, know that there's different views in the resource sheet, know that there's different views, of course, here by the square icon box and the square icon, clicking to the left, and the different tables here. I did a whole video on maneuvering the different views, so if you get a chance, you can watch that as well. So I hope this has been helpful for you with regards to resources. And as I said, I've got a pretty extensive YouTube site, and I have a lot of videos on areas of construction management, reading prints, Microsoft projects, site management, construction business management, tips, tools, techniques that can make you better at what you do, and learning videos as well, being a professor of construction project management. So I'm wishing you a wonderful day. Don't forget to click subscribe, notifications, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.